Kofi Mensah was born in the dry season. His mother always said that was a sign that he came into the world already knowing thirst. His father, Amos Mensah, was a cocoa farmer with cracked hands and a laugh so big it could fill a room. They were not rich, but they were whole. You understand what I mean by whole? No death chasing them, food on the mat at night, children sleeping without crying. That kind of whole. Kofi grew up watching his father farm, watching him pray before the rains, watching him thank God after the harvest. And young Kofi, maybe 12, 13 years old, he used to sit on the big flat rock outside their compound and he would look at the sky and say to himself, one day I will make my father proud. And he meant it. He really, truly meant it. But life does not always respect the promises a boy makes to the sky. By the time Kofi was 25, his father had died of a sickness that the village could not name and the city hospital could not afford to treat. His mother was old. His younger sister needed school fees. And the little cocoa farm his father left behind the soil had grown tired. 2 bad harvests in a row, then a third. Kofi tried everything a decent man tries. He borrowed from the community savings group. He borrowed from his uncle in the city. He planted yam when the cocoa failed. He cut palm fruits at dawn and walked 4 kilometers to the market. He did everything a man with pride still intact would do before he goes somewhere he should not go. But the debt kept growing. And one very specific night that Kofi would remember until his last breath, he sat outside his mother's house. The moon was low. The children next door were crying from hunger, and he counted what he had left, 17 cedis. That was it. 17 cedis between him and complete collapse. He sat there on that same flat rock where he used to make promises to the sky. And for the first time in his life, he had nothing to say to it. Now, in every village across Africa, and I want you to hear me when I say this, in every village, in every community, there is always one man who seems to have everything figured out. One man whose compound always smells of fresh meat, whose wife always wears new clothes, whose children go to the best schools. And when you ask people how he made his money, they lower their voice and they say, don't ask questions about that one. In Ekow, that man's name was Ekow Darko. Darko was maybe 50 years old, but he looked 40. He was not tall, but he walked like the ground owed him something. He wore a gold ring on every finger, yes, every finger, and he drove a white Land Cruiser in a village where most people had never sat in a taxi. Now Ekow had noticed Kofi for a while, because men like Ekow, they don't look for strong people, they look for broken ones. A strong man will say no, a broken man will negotiate. And so one evening, as Kofi was walking home from the market with empty hands and heavy feet, a white Land Cruiser pulled up slowly beside him. The window rolled down, and Ekow Darko smiled. Kofi, my son, you look tired. Get in. Let me take you home. Now here is where I want to stop the story for 1 second and talk to you directly. You know that moment. You felt it. Maybe not from a man in a Land Cruiser. Maybe it was a friend who offered you something that felt too easy. Maybe it was an opportunity that came with a price nobody wanted to tell you up front. Maybe it was a relationship that promised you everything but slowly asked you to give up yourself. We have all had our Ekow Darko moment. The question is, what did you do when the window rolled down? Kofi got in the car. The drive to Kofi's house was only 10 minutes, but Ekow used every second of it. He talked about Kofi's father said he respected Amos Mensah, that he was a great man. He talked about how hard Kofi had been working, that he had seen it, that the whole village had seen it. And then very smoothly, the way a snake moves through tall grass, he said, I have a business opportunity. Something that can change your life, but it requires courage. And I think you, Kofi, you have the courage. Kofi said nothing, but he didn't open the door and walk away either. And that silence was the first thing he sold. When they arrived at Kofi's home, Ekow did not come inside. He handed Kofi an envelope. Don't open it now, he said. Sleep on it. Think about your mother. Think about your sister. Think about what your father worked for. And if you want to talk, you know where to find me. The Land Cruiser pulled away. Kofi stood there in the dark, holding the envelope. He went inside. His mother was asleep. His sister had left a small kerosene lamp burning for him. On the table was a bowl of plain banku, no soup, no fish, just the white dough sitting there like a quiet apology. Kofi sat down. He opened the envelope. Inside was 20,000 cedis in cash, and a single folded note that said, this is not a gift, this is a test. If you are the man I think you are, come find me. If you are not, return it in the morning. 20,000 Cedis. To a man with 17. My friend, what would you have done? Kofi did not sleep that night. He lay on his mat and stared at the ceiling and had a conversation with himself that lasted until 3 a.m. He thought about his father. He thought about the farm. He thought about the 17 Cedis. He thought about his sister's school fees, which were already 3 months late. He thought about his mother's medicine. He thought about everything a man thinks about when the world has squeezed him into a corner and someone is offering him a door. By morning, he had made his decision. He went to find Ekow Darko. Now I am not going to tell you that what Ekow was doing was connected to any juju or spiritual ritual. I want to be very clear about that, because this story is not about magic. It is about something far more dangerous than magic. It is about exploitation. Ekow Darko ran what people today would call a pyramid scheme, but dressed in the language of community investment and village development. He would bring in desperate men, give them money, and then use their names, their reputations, their faces, their shadow, if you would, to recruit other desperate men, to give the operation legitimacy, to make it look like real people were benefiting. And for a while, for a beautiful, terrible while it did look real, Kofi joined. He brought in his uncle. His uncle brought in 3 friends. Those friends brought in their neighbors, and Ekow sat at the top of all of it, collecting. Within 3 months, Kofi had paid off every debt. He repaired his mother's roof. He bought his sister new uniforms and paid her school fees not just for 1 term, but for an entire year. He bought a second-hand motorbike. He started wearing new clothes. The village noticed, and the village talked. Some people said, finally, Kofi's hard work is paying off. Some people whispered, where is this money coming from? And a few people, the ones who had known Amos Mensah, who had watched Kofi grow up on that flat rock making promises to the sky, those few people looked at him with something quiet in their eyes. Not jealousy, not judgment, grief, because they recognized the look on his face. The look of a man who has gotten what he wanted, and already, somewhere deep in his chest, suspects it will cost him more than he bargained for. The collapse happened on a Tuesday. Ekow Darko's operation had pulled in over 400 families across 3 districts. When the government financial crimes unit arrived early morning, before the roosters even, they didn't start with Ekow. They started with the recruiters. They started with the faces. They started with Kofi Mensah. Kofi was at the market when his sister called him, screaming, barely able to get the words out, that there were police at their mother's house, that they were taking things, that their mother was crying. He dropped everything and ran. By the time he arrived, his motorbike was being loaded onto a government truck. 2 officers were inside the house, going through papers. His mother was sitting in the compound, wrapped in her old cloth, and she was not crying anymore. That kind of still that is worse than crying. The still of a woman who is trying to understand how the world she knew has become the world she is now sitting in. Kofi fell to his knees in front of her. Mama, I am sorry. Mama, I didn't know. She looked at him. And what she said next, I need you to hear this, because it is the true center of this entire story. She said, Kofi, your father once told me a shadow only exists because of light. The moment you let someone else control your light, you lose your shadow too. And a man without his shadow cannot be seen for who he truly is. The legal process took 8 months. Kofi cooperated with investigators. He gave them everything: names, dates, records. Not because he was afraid, though he was, but because on that morning, kneeling in front of his mother, something in him had been put back in the right direction. He was not jailed, but he was fined. Almost everything he had accumulated was seized. He was, once again, a man with almost nothing. But this time, and this is the difference that matters, this time he was not broken by it, because he understood something now that the 17 Cedis version of himself didn't know: that desperation is not shameful. Every human being alive has stood at the edge of desperation at some point. The shame is not in being desperate. The shame is in what we are willing to destroy in ourselves and in others to escape it. Kofi had sold his shadow, his name, his reputation, his father's legacy. He had let someone use the light of his identity to cast darkness on 400 families who trusted him. That was the true cost. Not the motorbike, not the money, the trust. Here is what Kofi did next. And this is the part of the story that I really want you to hold on to. He went back to the farm. The tired, worn out, dry season farm his father had left behind. The one he had neglected when the easy money came. He went back to it with nothing but his 2 hands and the memory of watching his father pray before the rains. He didn't go alone. His sister, out finishing secondary school, now understanding more about the world than most adults, she came on weekends. His mother, old and slow, would sit at the edge of the farm and talk to him while he worked, the way she used to talk to his father. And slowly, not quickly, not in the movie version of events, but slowly, the way real things grow, the farm came back. 3 years later, Kofi Mensah was not rich, but he was whole. He had partnered with 2 young men from the village who had studied agricultural science and couldn't find city jobs. Together they had converted the tired cocoa farm into a diverse plot cocoa, yes, but also vegetables for the local market, and a small bee colony that produced honey they were now selling to 3 shops in the district capital. He had started something he called very simply the Flat Rock Group, named after the rock where he used to sit as a boy. A savings and accountability group for young men in the village, not to make them rich, just to help them survive without selling themselves. Every week, 8 to 12 young men sat together. They talked about money, about pressure, about the Ekow Darkos of the world, about how to spot them, about how to say no when everything inside you is screaming yes. Kofi facilitated these meetings not as a wise elder, he was barely in his 30s, but as a man who had been burned, who had the scars, who could say, I was you, and here is what I wish someone had told me. And this, my friend, this is where I want to sit with you for just a moment before we close. Because we are living in a world that is full of Ekow Darkos. They don't always drive white Land Cruisers. Sometimes they come in your phone screen. Sometimes they come in a WhatsApp group promising returns on investments. Sometimes they come in the form of a job offer that asks you to compromise your values. Sometimes they come dressed as opportunity, as love, as friendship, as religion. And they always come when you are tired, when your 17 Cedis is sitting on the table, when you are staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. and asking God why it is so hard to be decent in a world that seems to reward shortcuts. They come then, and the question is never will they come. The question is, do you know your own shadow well enough to protect it? Do you know who you are, your father's name, your mother's eyes, the promises you made to the sky well enough to say, not this, not me, not today. Kofi Mensah is still in Ekow, still farming, still running the Flat Rock Group, still waking before sunrise because his father taught him that the best conversations happen between a man and the earth before the world gets loud. He is not famous. He will probably never be famous. But in that village, when a young man is in trouble, when the money is gone and the pressure is high and someone suspicious is rolling up in a nice car, they say, go talk to Kofi. And that, my friend, is the richest thing a man can be. Not known everywhere, but trusted somewhere. So that is the story of Kofi Mensah, the man who sold his shadow, and then spent the rest of his life earning it back. I want to ask you something before you go. Is there something in your life right now, a decision, a pressure, a tempting offer where someone is asking you to trade a piece of yourself for a shortcut? Think about it honestly, no judgment. I am not here to judge you, but I want you to remember Kofi on that flat rock, the boy who made promises to the sky. And I want you to ask yourself, is the choice I'm about to make something that boy would be proud of? If the answer is yes, move forward with courage. If the answer is no, my friend, there is still time to turn around. There is always still time. A shadow, once lost, can be recovered, but only if you walk back toward your own light. If this story moved something in you, if it made you think, if it made you feel, if it reminded you of someone you know or something you've been through, please subscribe to Tales by I Am. We are here every week with stories like this one. Stories from the African soil that carry truth for the modern human soul. Stories about real people, real choices, and real consequences. Stories that don't just entertain you, they equip you. Hit that subscribe button right now. Ring the notification bell so you never miss a story. And if you have a story, a folktale, a community legend, something your grandmother told you by the fire, send it to us. We want to tell it the right way, with the respect it deserves. This is Tales by I Am, and we will see you in the next story.